Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Out of Spec podcast. It is great to have you here. We've got a fun episode for you today, so thanks for plugging in. As you probably know, we cover all things electric vehicles over here, and sometimes we get to feature amazing people who are doing awesome electric builds, from paving the way with passion and innovation to working years and years on long-term projects. So much to cover. And today, I am joined by Jerome from the Out of Spec Renew channel. Hello, Jerome.
Hello.
And Peri from Perifractics Retro Recipes, the YouTube channel, who has given his Tesla Model 3 a whole new personality. So let's plug in. This episode is made possible by the support we get from Fort Collins Kia. If you are in the market for any electric Kia, not only do they never add market adjustments, they will deliver your car to you anywhere in the 48 contiguous states for out-of-spec viewers. More information in the link in the show notes. Okay, yes, so thank you, Jerome, for helping get Peri onto the podcast. Welcome, Peri.
Hello, it's great to be here. And yeah, thank you so much, Jerome and Francie, for having me here.
It's great to have you. And you have a pretty retro focused channel, like 1980s vibe. And I'm really excited to talk about how you brought that appreciation from the past into the present with the conversion of your Tesla Model 3 with FSD, which we've heard a lot about lately, into a modern day KITT Tesla from the Knight Rider franchise. And of course, all using AI. So before we get into kind of the inspiration and the actual process behind your creation of KITT, can you tell me a bit, and our audience, a bit more about you and your passion and how you ended up here? Have you always been into electric vehicles?
I think my interest started really with Tesla, if I'm honest. It's kind of cliched, but I think Elon is on record as saying that he was inspired by KITT and by watching Knight Rider as a kid. And so was I. So, I grew up watching that series. I remember leaning forward on the carpet at my family home, just like staring up at the TV, aged like 12, and just in awe and wonder at this self-driving car. Kind of sounded electric, although it had a jet turbo engine, I suppose. And of course, Michael, the epitome of cool and the lone warrior. But when we started to actually get EVs and we started to get hints of full self-driving, right there instantly in the back of my mind, and I'm sure a ton of your viewers' minds, was, well, maybe one day we can make KITT real. We can have a car that can actually drive us around, and we can have a conversation with it at the same time and tell it to pop the trunk and all these things. And literally 10 days ago, I finally got to that stage, right? So I've got the whole thing working. But yes, it was getting FSD, and it was obviously a bit shaky to begin with. Then I thought, well, I'll put a red scanner on the front, and people joke about Tesla panel gaps, but there's actually a nice gap under the hood at the front where you can put an LED light strip. So I did a video, adding that, and then it's one of those things where I did one thing, and then I thought, well, then I may as well just do the wheels. So I imported some Japanese KITT 18-inch wheels. Had a lot of trouble modding them to fit on a Tesla, but found a way. And again, that's in one of the video parts, and just spiraled from there into what I have now. So I can talk a little more about the AI if you want, or if you had any other questions first, we can touch upon that later.
Yeah, so it sounds like it kind of was secretly born out of, I'll add this, and then, I'll take it a little bit further and a little bit further. And yeah, it makes me wonder about like the person behind this project, because obviously you were inspired. I love your inspiration story, but how did it culminate to what it is today? Now using AI, from, adding an LED light strip to what you've achieved so far. It seems like kind of a big undertaking.
It's been a massive undertaking. I realized I didn't answer your question about my background really, but it's mainly I have a door and some walls, and I always want to say that when people are on Shark Tank and they say, what's your background? I always want them to say, well, there's some bricks. But yeah, nostalgia is a big part of my life, right? So I was very lucky to have a very happy childhood and amazing parents who are no longer with us, sadly. But getting back into like old computers was where it started. So Commodore 64, I reacquired the same model I had, and I got the same case that I'd modded back when I was 13. Then I bought the same computer my dad had in his home office, and I bought the computer I had later, like a Commodore Amiga. And slowly, I realized I need to move these out of my office and into a bigger room. So I started accidentally creating a retro computing, retro gaming museum. And that became the hub for the channel, which is called Retro Recipes, as you mentioned. And that's where I do, the presenting and all of that. And it was that tie into nostalgia. I remember very early on, I got a comment. Someone just said, "This is incredible. Please keep doing this." And I realized that I tapped into something that's in, I think, the psyche of a lot of people, particularly of my age, not you youngsters, but I'm 51, and growing up in the 70s and 80s was the birth of home computing, and we had like the first computers you could program at home, and that really awakened a spark, I think, in all of our minds of this technological awakening. I'm sure Elon Musk was there at the same time thinking the same things. And I know he actually programmed a game which we featured on the channel when he was a kid. So he was doing the same kind of stuff. So taking that forward then was when Knight Rider came in, because the channel is basically 80s and 90s tech and TV, right? So it's TV shows like Airwolf, Knight Rider, and all the tech that we were playing with at the same time that we were watching those. So yes, then to lead into that, when I realized the strong nostalgia there is for Knight Rider, who of course was also a retro computer, that's really the tie-in that evolved into the AI. So what I realized is, and I'm working with a very clever chap called Justin Okin, and he offered to help me program the KITT app. So what we've got right now is iPhone to begin with, and obviously we want to do Android as soon as we can. But I can actually just fire it up and show you what we've got as kind of the end result of this mission.
Yeah,
but
please do.
It was to give something that integrates into the car to begin with, but also lets you chat with KITT. So you can hear the engine noise playing right now. Mm-hmm. So this is KITT. We're calling it KAITT for obvious reasons, copyright as well. But he's been listening and...
Hello, Michael. While you're trying out new names for me, rest assured, KITT will always be ready to roll out. Is there a new assignment?
Yeah, hi, KITT. I'm joined here with Francie and Jerome and all of the viewers on the podcast. I just wondered if you wanted to say hi to them.
Greetings, Francie, Jerome, and all the podcast listeners. KITT here, at your service. How can I assist in today's adventure?
Well, they're looking very impressed, so I hope you've got a couple more fans out there.
Always happy to gather more supporters in our relentless pursuit of justice, Michael. Shall we hit the road?
Absolutely. I'll see you there in a minute. So he thinks I'm Michael, as you may have noticed. So I haven't corrected him yet for some reason. But what I can do, I won't do it right now, but obviously you can see this in the videos on Retro Recipes, but I can say, "Hey, KITT, pop the trunk," and he'll immediately launch a shortcut which calls to the Tesla servers and then opens my hand show aftermarket trunk. I can pop the hood comes up, I can say open the door, he'll let me out, close the door, he'll close it behind me. So it's not just an AI bot running ChatGPT, it's integrated into the car, and that's the thing now. I have this on the dash while I'm driving around, and yeah, I can tell KITT to open the door while I'm driving. He won't do that, but yeah.
Wow, that's so fun. It's like bringing a dream to life through modern age technology. It's so interesting. I love that you've done this, and it does seem like you said, a massive undertaking, and that it's really rewarding to the point that you are now. So I know that you just kind of said a couple minutes ago that, yeah, you kind of finally made it to this point, and now you're actually, it seems like you've accomplished most of your tasks. I'd love you to tell me, like, is there anything else that you want to do with KITT? But now you're even at the point where you are donating the Tesla. So can you tell us a bit more about, like, have you reached the final stage of KITT and this charity donation that you're doing.
Yeah, I think he's reached his ultimate form, because the last thing I did was put the black wrap on the car to make him, the stealthy knight, knight in shining armor, as it were. Integrating the AI app was really the icing on the cake. And I've run out of things to do. I mean, someone suggested ejector seats, but I don't know how realistic that's going to be. Maybe if the airbag goes off too violently, it might throw you out, but otherwise I think we're good. So what I decided to do, for me, I realized it was about the journey. Okay, it's very cliched again, but I love just making things and tinkering. And then I find myself driving around in it, and I go to Target to pick up groceries, and I chat with KITT. But that's slightly less exciting to me than the actual road of getting there and figuring it all out. So I thought, for the channel, well, okay, I want to do other projects. One of them is I recently acquired a Pontiac Trans Am, so the real KITT, okay. And I would love to do an EV conversion on that and actually get self-driving, which there is a third-party project. I forget the name of it, but you can install a camera in the windshield area, and it can connect to the power steering. So I could actually have a full self-driving EV KITT with the AI integrated. But to do all that, I'm going to have to release some capital. So I thought, okay, I've had my fun with KITT Tesla. Why don't I raffle KITT Tesla off? We're giving a percentage to charity, to St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which is a cause very close to my wife and my hearts. Here in Los Angeles, they have the hospital. So raffling KITT Tesla off. Any of your viewers can enter. It's about £5 or $7 to buy a ticket, and there's a chance to win KITT Tesla, which is valued at around $100,000. And that's then hopefully going to lead to the next major project, which is that AI real KITT.
So cool. And, that's a great charitable organization. And I think, your focus on this is the journey. Now what's next? Well, I'll raffle it off and then invite that new project. So I think that's really cool. And listeners, we will have the link in the show notes for sure, so everyone can enter the raffle and learn more Absolutely. About that.
Yeah, and it's also linked on the Retro Recipes YouTube. Right at the top, you'll see the bit.ly/win KITT Tesla.
Great. And everyone should definitely check out your channel too. Yeah, of course.
I usually get KITT to plug things as well. I'm like, hey, can you just remind them that website? And he'll jump in.
So
now, this, by the way, I will mention is as a teaser. This is a very low quality teaser. So that is actually yours truly driving in aforementioned Pontiac Trans Am. That is at El Mirage Dry Lake, where they filmed the original opening titles, because we have been remaking the entire opening titles shot for shot with my Trans Am at all the original locations and downtown LA as well. So hopefully I'll be able to share something about that and the final product on Retro Recipes in about a month.
So out of those locations, which one was your favorite?
I love that was great going to the dry lake, okay, but it was very dusty and hot, and there's a lot of 4x4s and off-roaders crossing paths with us, and we had a few near misses. So you'll see all that in the making of. What I really love is the fan favorite locations. So I did an episode recently where I tracked down, I don't know if either of you know the episode called Junkyard Dog, but it's where KITT fell into an acid pit.
Mm-hmm.
Devastating as a child watching that. KITT was literally dissolved down to the metal. Mm-hmm. So he got repaired at the FLAG headquarters, the Foundation for Law and Government, and in their workshop. And I tracked it down to College of the Canyons, which is actually in Los Angeles County. Took a trip there and was able to go in because college is public property. So I was able to finally find the exact hangar door, which had a big number 5 on it in the show. That number 5 is still there. The hangar door is still there 40 years later. So for me, it's watching things that I wore my VHS tape out watching as a kid. My recording is actually walking in their footsteps where the actors were and where KITT stood. And I was really pleased with that video because I was able to overlay images of the actors and KITT in present day setting at the same angle, and actually just watch kind of the past meld into the present. And that's the stuff I like location wise. Yeah.
What I really like in this video is you talk to young students and they knew about the show, but they had no clue it was filmed where they spent most of their day. So that was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was incredible. Actually, I was feeling a bit overly confident because I was driving around in Kesla and all the cameras are on me filming the various angles, and I thought I'll just ask these kids; they're not going to know what I'm talking about. And they're like, "Yeah, whoa, the show from the '80s. Your car looks like it. Wow!" I was like, "Oh, you guys are really cool. All right, thank you for playing along." So, that's always nice when you realize it's not kind of lost to the sands of time, and people still appreciate it.
So there's been remakes of the show, but one thing that has never been is a remake film as if it was in the 80s. Do you think there should be a follow-up and a remake happening in the 80s?
I think that's a fantastic idea. It's something I was thinking about. Obviously, I would love to. I'm an actor here in LA. If anyone's watching, if you're remaking Knight Rider, I'm down. But I would love that. What I've thought about doing for the channel, and this is longer term, is take a fan favorite episode and remake it.
Wow.
Shot for shot, right? Go to as many of the existing locations. So we could remake Junkyard Dog. I know where the acid pit is, where he was dissolved. I know where the repair workshop is. And when you really break down that episode, it's quite simple. It's like three main locations, and obviously some great acting. And David Hasselhoff is irreplaceable. I would pale into his insignificance trying to emulate him. But if I did it as my own version of, I thought I could be Michael Day instead of Michael Knight, for example. just some, but not make it jokey all the way, but make it like tie it in somehow, where it's just after Michael leaves the Foundation, and Flag needs somebody else to carry on the missions, something like that. And so, existed in that world, but use the real locations that fans love, because traveling back some, just on YouTube with a handheld camera is a lot of fun. But yeah, if I could imagine watching an actual remake in those scenes, that really gets me tingling. Yeah.
And we need to mention that you got the chance to get the support from David Hasselhoff in one of your recent videos also.
Yes. Yeah, that was amazing. He very kindly recorded a video message sharing how he was, he has a Pontiac in his garage, which is cool. And just saying like kudos on KITT Tesla. And he's of an age now where the weird thing is he started to remind me of my dad. And he did a little thing at the end of his greeting where he just kind of went, and my dad would do that. And it's quite sweet and quite nice, knowing that he's aware of the project, but also seeing him now as an elder Michael Knight in a way, and just he's such a champion of the fans and really appreciates what Knight Rider means to people. So yeah, that was very touching and very grateful.
Yeah, and not only him, but also Richard Daniels, who was the voice of KITT.
Yeah, William Daniels. He did the voice famously and played Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World. I think was the show in the 80s, but I knew him from Knight Rider. Yeah. So I reached out to him on Cameo, and I said, "Hey, we're developing an AI app, and we'd love to use the real voice. Love to use your voice. Would it be possible?" He sent a very nice greeting, which again you can see in the AI. The KITT app video that I did, where he explained that he didn't want to be the voice of an AI, which a lot of people pointed out was quite ironic, because that's what he's partly most known for, being the voice of an AI. And to me, as an actor, it's sort of a way to live on in perpetuity, right? Because yes, people can make you say things you wouldn't have said or whatever, but it's also just a way to continue. But I completely respected what he said, and was just like, thank you for the reply, was basically the feeling behind when I read that. when I saw that. And he told me to drive safe as well, which was very nice. So what we did then is I went onto a website called voice123.com, and I auditioned. I think we got about 75 auditions from wannabe KITT voice actors who the idea was, if you sound like KITT, give us an audition. I'm tempted to go play some for you, but I think I don't have permission to go play people's auditions. But there was like 3 real standout winners where you're just like, are they using AI? But no, that was really their voice. So what I did then was create a timeline of a mishmash of their voices, saying the whole script that we'd devised. And then we had basically someone that sounds like they're honoring William Daniels, but we're not using his voice at all. And obviously impersonators have been around forever, and there's no copyright issues with impressions. So we fed that into 11 Labs, and 11 Labs created the voice model. And what our app does is it calls to ChatGPT from our backend server, and then sends the text from ChatGPT to 11 Labs. And that's why you hear that little delay while KITT goes woof woof, does this little whooshing sound. That's all happening, and then we get that voice, which is close, and it's definitely has a feel of KITT about it, but it's not an out-and-out clone of Mr. Daniels. So I think we've, as I said in the video, I think that's as far as we should ethically and legally go, without his consent or Universal's consent. So there you go. That's how we got to that. Yeah.
So cool. I love it. And I'm thinking about like kind of Tesla has been a bit of a gateway into EVs for a lot of people. You know, there's a gateway kind of for everyone if once they become an EV enthusiast, that got them in. And I think Tesla has been really approachable for a lot of people, and they've been around for a long time. So it makes sense. And then, so that's like your entry. And then you have huge names on this big project. So I'm sure you've had the chance to talk to a lot of people, not only about your project, but also about electric vehicles. And I know that we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but these are a lot of conversations that you get to have with folks that have no experience with EVs, that have ideas about EVs, that might, be informed from one source or another. And I know even with guests and personally, when we go on EV road trips, if you're at a charger or if you're just stopping along the way, there's always the potential to talk to someone and let them know about why you're driving electric, what you think is cool about driving electric, to share ideas. So can you tell us a bit more about that, what the conversations have been like? Have there been any kind of enlightening moments on your end, on someone else's end, when you've been able to talk to folks about, not only your project, but electric vehicles in general?
That's a good question. Yeah. YouTube's an interesting beast, right? As you guys know, there's really no filter on people. They see something, go straight from their ears and their eyes to their keyboard, and they'll type what they're thinking. So you expose then the whole range. And as a YouTuber, we have to learn to live with that. I've certainly developed a thicker skin, and that was a video that I knew would get a bit of, the particular video we're talking about is part 4, I think, which is where I put the black wrap on and kind of finished the visual side of KITT without the app side. And I did a little fact check in the middle, because I'd grown, I love facts, okay? I love just details and statistics. And through the other 3 parts, there'd been so many things like, has it caught fire yet? When's the self-driving gonna kill someone? And I'm like, okay, well, you're wrong, statistically. So I thought I'd put a very fun fact check in, and it was an opportunity to explain, like, a fact that I loved when I researched it was, if you take 100,000 EVs and 100,000 gasoline cars, for every 1 EV that catches fire, and yes, of course they do, 63 gas cars catch fire. And literally, as I was filming, there was a huge car on fire, and you'll see me pan around to this white Jeep. And I researched it, made sure nobody had been hurt and everything, but I include the footage, because what are the chances? Well, they're 1 to 63. That's what the chances are. And then people saying, well, self-driving, because of course there's a lawsuit. And then Tesla, all the clickbait news headlines are like, self-driving kills human. But how many has it saved? And then you look into those statistics, and it's meters safer, because as humans, we don't have whatever it is, 8 cameras, and we can drink drive and an EV can't, and the whole thing. But unfortunately, as we know in this community, people are very easily led by headlines, misled, I should say. And those headlines, I'm sure many of them are fueled by the old guard and by the oil barons sitting there in Texas or wherever they are, and the older car manufacturers. It's a lot of, I hate to use the phrase fake news, but it really is when you just delve into the statistics and you look at the insurance company reports and you look at actually the data. EVs are infinitely safer, obviously better for the planet. And that was the other big one, was the green element. Was people saying, well, but the lithium mining but the cost to manufacture, and there's a huge spike when you make an EV that it's worse for the planet than making a gas car. But I think it's at 12,000 miles, if you look at the graph that I included, is when it starts to pay off, and then it goes way up. And the main reason people don't realize is you don't have a tailpipe. You're not spewing fumes out of the back of your car every single drive you do for 10 years, 15 years, whatever the life of a gas car is. And that adds up a lot. And people don't see the big picture. They go, well, lithium mining, the end, and they don't want an EV. But that's not how cars work. You have them for more than one day. So I'm big on just presenting facts. I didn't do it in a kind of big-headed way. I just put it out there, and some of it was kind of in a fun way. But again, you then get people commenting under that saying, well, has it caught fire yet? And then I just type the timestamp on my video, 6:03, put that in my reply, and they can go watch it. And then some of them come back and debate and get into, but lithium mining, and then it just goes on. But I did my best. I put some facts out there.
Yeah, you can do your best. That's what we do too. It's like there's pros and there's cons, and they will be displayed in our work. I really like that, and it's not an easy undertaking too. And YouTube comments, we have amazing debates in our comments too. They're not always debates, maybe it's just opinion sharing. But it's an interesting space to be in for sure. That's ever evolving and linked to so many parts of our lives. Transportation it's so personal, really, when you look at it.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it. And it is disheartening when you you do something that's about the happiness of childhood nostalgia, right, at the core of the whole thing. And you're just sharing that joy, and you're like, look what I made. And 99% of the people are like, that's amazing, well done. I want to win it in a raffle, or whatever it is. They just love it. And then you get that 1%. But don't get me wrong, I love all kinds of motor vehicles, and I have the Trans Am, which is a gas guzzler, and I drove it to El Mirage. Obviously, it did amazingly, and I fell in love with it, which was another part of why, we've got a baby now. We've got a 8-month-old little girl, and it's like, do I need 3 cars? Do I need a Trans Am and the family car and KITT Tesla? No, that's ridiculous. So if I have the Trans Am as my kind of, when I need to go run some errands on my own, then I'll take that. But I'd still love to get the EV conversion, of course. But there was an interesting thing I've seen people saying just in the last few days, or since the eclipse, which was all these scientists, you trusted them, you booked Airbnbs, you flew to where they told you the eclipse was going to be. To the exact second, they got the eclipse completely right. And it's those same scientists, that same community at least, who are telling you that EVs are going to save the planet and cut down on carbon, and that carbon is causing every problem we're having, and the increasingly bad weather and everything. But you don't trust those. And I thought about it for a few minutes, and I realized it's just selective believing. Eclipses are fun. So you want to believe. You're like, okay, cool, I'm going to believe the scientists because I want to go see that. Changing a car you love, or changing your habits that you're set in, is not fun. Or thinking about other people and thinking about recycling is not fun for some people. So it's selective believing, I think, is what's going on, sadly. And all we can do is keep just putting the facts out there, and slowly that selective believing will hopefully just start to lean the other way. Or when a tornado rips up your house, that's when you start to believe the other way. But it's
all right. Let's let's go back to KITT Tesla and geek out a little bit on the modification you've done.
Yeah.
I want to know everything. You've talked about the automatic doors and boot and everything, but I know you obviously added the KITT yoke steering wheel.
Yeah.
But what was the most challenging aspect of the modification that you faced?
Yeah, the yoke was fun because I nearly broke my wrist trying to loosen the bolt from the steering columns. You'll see that in, I think, part 1 of the videos. Most challenging was the wheels. So I did import those wheels, and as I mentioned, I had to modify them. But the bolt pattern, so there was a huge language barrier. People said, "Oh, you bought wheels without checking," but no, these are the only wheels anyone makes that are KITT styled. And the language barrier with the people who make them in Japan, I barely even was able to get their PayPal. And these wheels were $6,000, $7,000 actually, with shipping. But they're beautiful. They're the bowling ball hubcap, as they call them, that KITT had. But when they arrived, I took them to the local shop and they tried to put them up against the wheels, and they're just slightly out. And I give all the measurements in the video, and you'll see what was going on. But the guy said, "Well, there's a place I can send you. There's one place that does this. They'll re-drill the bolt pattern for you." I didn't even understand how that would work from an engineering perspective because the existing holes are in the wrong place. But what it was, I filmed all this happening. They have this big drill that they lower down into the existing holes to make holes that are slightly further out. So if you've got the 5 bolts there, they're just slightly spread out. And of course, what happens then from an engineering point of view is when you put the lug nuts in, they each pull outward. So the inner holes being too big doesn't matter because everything's being pushed to the outer holes. And they haven't fallen off yet after about 18 months. But that was a challenge, and that was a lot of very hot, sweaty days in LA running around different shops to try and get it done. But we got there, yeah.
So the ironic thing is you spend $7,000 on wheels and then you hide them with black covers.
Yeah, exactly. To me, the black covers is really the look, though.
Yeah.
But a few people said, because I showed them without the covers to begin with, in a little bit of a glamour shot, and they're really nice. They're only aluminium. They're not, what do you call it? I'm brain farting. Alloy.
Magnesium.
No. Oh, magnesium, yeah. But they don't look bad without the covers, but when you put the covers on, then it becomes KITT. So I had to do it.
Would you say that that's like your favorite custom feature in making KITT, or do you have a favorite and why?
It's cool, yeah. That's the feature that gets the dads walking past with their sons and they just literally walk past a Tesla and you don't expect them to go. They go, "Look, it's KITT." And you're like, "Oh, you've actually realized." For me, though, I think a combination of the red scanner on the front, because nothing says you're saving the world like a red flashing light on the front of your car, okay? And then what we did, we combined that with something called the what's it called? The speaker we put in the front. It's EV something. Anyway, it's in video number 2, but it's a huge front speaker that connects to an app. And they made a Tesla sound for me. So they have they actually called it TITT, T-I-T-T, Tesla Industries 2000. But that can basically use the accelerometer in the phone to detect how fast you're going. And then KITT's turbine whine speeds up and slows down from the front as you drive. But it can also do the little woof woof sound. So you have the red scanner and you have the sound coming from where the scanner is. So I think for me personally, from a childhood point of view, seeing Tesla kind of do that KITT sound is my thing. Yeah.
So yeah, you did a fantastic work on KITT Tesla, but we must say also that the funny thing is the Tesla car itself brought maybe 80% of what Knight Rider was about, 30 years ago. And you just added the 20%, which I appreciate took a long time.
No,
but
totally.
Yeah, the final result is fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's jump to the Pontiac, because if you had have the project of converting it to EV, obviously we can help with the Out of Spec Renew channel and access to the industries that could help providing solutions to convert it and give you the best tips.
Yeah,
and there is a huge following for the Knight Rider car online, so that would be a fantastic project. And I'm sure the most die-hard Knight Rider fans would love something like this.
Yeah. I know I'm going to get comments saying, well, he was a gas car, but of course, when you research it, well, when you research it, he had a circuitry or some kind of filtration system where he could take any fuel. That's how he worked. But it was a jet turbine engine, so it was essentially out of an aeroplane. So yes, he could take gasoline, which is why you see Michael filling up at a regular gas station, but also Bonnie would put his bioelectric diesel, whatever weird thing it was that they concocted for the show. But he sounds electric, which is the other strange thing. He doesn't sound like a jet. It's that, kind of sound. So, and also the whole thing of KITT, the whole ethos is electronics, right? He's electronic, he's electric. He red flashing lights and all. It's all electricity based. So I don't think it's a stretch at all to put an EV conversion in there. And I'm sure if Flag was around in 2024 and they were making a new KITT, I'm convinced he would be electric because he could recharge anywhere on the Tesla network, for example. So yeah, I would love any connections for places here in Los Angeles that wanted to help out with that kind of conversion as well. That's much appreciated. And we'll keep you posted on the progress.
Outside of the Pontiac project, do you have any other project you'd like to share with us?
Wow, good question. So I'm always tinkering with things on the YouTube. There's a very interesting one which I'm trying to still get working. So back in the 80s, there was a Channel 4 TV show, and it was very short-lived. I think they did maybe 6 episodes. But one thing they did was they broadcast a computer program over the TV signal. So it was this thing where you would tune in at a certain time. It might have been midnight or something. And they broadcast what just sounds like, a modem or a fax machine. But also there was a little flashing dot in the corner, and that was pulsing data, so ones and zeros basically, to the viewer. And they gave in a popular computing magazine a computer program that you could write and a schematic for a PCB that you could create this circuit board, which had a little photoreceptor that you would put on your TV with the suction pad. So stick it to your TV screen, and it would watch that code. And there was another component where it would listen to, because you needed 2 programs. You needed the program to receive the program, and then you needed the actual program to be received. Anyway, I've found that after years of looking and help from one of my Patreons, I found the footage. Thank you, Paul Jacobson. We found all the recordings, and thankfully that TV station had been uploading them slowly. So I now have the ability to receive a TV program broadcast from the past and build the PCB, build the little sucker. And I haven't yet finished the project, but that's going to be a lot of fun if we can actually find out what this program is that they transmit and actually kind of talk with the past in a way again.
How cool.
Fantastic. Yeah,
that'll be a lot of fun.
I feel like your work here aligns with a lot of other electrifying classic cars missions or hopes, which is like you're keeping the legacy alive. You're keeping either an idea or an actual classic car alive on the road in a way that is either drivable, if you're actually converting an old car to an electric motor, electric battery system, or bringing, an old story, an old character to life again. And I want to ask significance of that for you, but also the larger significance of taking on a project like this and converting a Tesla into something that is a new character.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. For me, it is, I put it on my Patreon, like the goal here is to keep these old machines and these old TV shows in the public consciousness. So whether that's the Trans Am, whether that's a ZX Spectrum computer, whether it's just a TV show and what that meant to people. It's important to me because I mentioned this to my wife the other day, but our community very, very slowly is disappearing, just through age and health and whatever it is. And that's why it was so wonderful, Jerome, when you mentioned the kids on the campus who knew the show and recognized a Tesla in KITT clothing as being from that show, which came out 20 years before they were born. I mean, that's everything I want to do, right? And putting it on YouTube, we get comments from people, from kids. We had like a 14-year-old boy say, like, I've just got into retro gaming and thank you so much. And like a 19-year-old say, I just bought my first Commodore 64 and do you have any recommendations for programming? And we also have a local meetup, which I, for time reasons, haven't been to for a while now, but we have a local Commodore computing club that meets up in LA. And we meet up in a Panera Bread and we just set up old computers in the corner, and they love having us there, and we buy their scones. But we have kids come by, and like a college kid, I remember him saying, like, he wasn't just like, oh, this is cool, and like stayed for a minute. We couldn't get rid of him. And he was just, not that we were trying. He got to this point where he was saying, like, but how does it work? Like, how does the computer work? So we'd program a bit of BASIC and show him like a program, and he'd see it running, and then he'd say, yeah, but how is it doing that? And there's that intrigue and that mystique. And I have a very long to-do list of videos, but one of them is, how do computers work? Not like you type here and then it comes out on the screen and the processor processes. Like, but how? at a ones and zeros level, like what's actually happening? So yeah, for me, that personal mission is just not letting that die, because it was so magical for me. I mentioned like what a magical time it was being part of that birth of home computing. And I want to be that dad who sits down with his kid with the programming manual and taps out a basic program and watches a little balloon float up the screen. Just simple stuff. But the fact that you created it, and that I can introduce, my daughter, and if I have a son in the future, and whatever it is, to that. But also anyone happens to be watching on YouTube, and there's that captive audience waiting there. So I put it out there, and I hope that it has that effect. Yeah.
I love to hear it. It's clearly, your passion manifesting through you. So I strongly encourage all of our listeners to tune into your YouTube channel, Perifractics Retro Recipes, of course, and check this all out. Of course, you have the story of Kesla, but also beyond. And I do love, there's a lot. I love the retro world and continuing to appreciate the significance of whether it's products or ideas or characters, storylines in 2024 and beyond. I think it's really cool. And I really appreciate you, not only just undertaking these projects so that we can learn along with and see what you do, but also being willing to come onto the podcast and share all about this passion project, and really exciting feat for you, I would say. I mean, I would be proud of myself for being able to do that. I'm not really sure how you approached it, because I don't know how I would, but it's very impressive. So great work.
Thank you so much. I don't know about proud of myself. I just, like I said, I enjoy the process, and I've come to realize that in life, the key to happiness and the key to making a living and like figuring out what you want to do is just find what makes you the happiest. My mother would say, like, what makes your heart sing? Find what that thing is. Don't think about money or jobs or anything at that stage. Just find what that is. And for me, it was buying up my old computers again and on eBay, putting them in a room. And then once you've found that happiness and you know how to harness that, then yes, feel free, find a way to make an income from that. And if you can make that your job, I mean, I recommend it. It's I get to play with toys all day, and I walk back into the studio and I've got my childhood Lego there that I never even dismantled, my space Lego. I've got all these things, and I think I do stop on occasion and just think to myself, I get to play with all my childhood toys for a living. And I encourage anyone to join me in the play or create that play for themselves.
I love that. And Jerome is definitely a resource in terms of your future projects with electrifying any other sort of vehicle. So definitely use him. He's got not only a wealth of knowledge, but he's covered like a lot of other crazy projects. So I do hope that we can all get linked up somehow. I know, Jerome, you're across the pond, but you sometimes come over here.
Yeah, I'm coming very soon, actually.
Good.
Very good. Well, there you go. We'll figure out a time for you to come and meet KITT AI, and we'll take it from there.
Yes. Excellent. Yeah, I look forward to maybe doing an episode of our channel Out of Spec Renew on KITT AI before it goes to a new home.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have until June, I think, for the raffle to end and hopefully meet its goal. So yeah. And I'm very impressed the way you're speaking without moving your lips as well, Jerome. That's a very cool technique.
See, ventriloquist.
Yes, he's a ventriloquist. So many skills Jerome has. It's really impressive. Yes.
We're back to impersonations again.
Yes. And I feel like you did instill with us a lot of ideas about not only this project, but your mission behind it, your motivation behind it, and some thoughts to take away from this conversation too. So I really appreciate it. And like I said, appreciate your time and energy coming onto the project or the podcast. I love your story, this project, and I'm happy that you were willing to come on and share with our audience. And I'm sure that they will have questions and comments. And of course, they can go directly to your YouTube, but also they can, host the conversation in the comments below, and maybe you'll come visit, answer some questions if they have any. And yeah, thank you so much.
My pleasure. And the best way to reach me is by fax to +1 747 Peri fax. No joke.
That is awesome. It really is. Yes, thank you, Jerome, so much.
Yeah,
yes,
thank you. I really enjoyed it and delving into the nostalgia and reminding me why I started it all. So thank you guys. Yeah.
Yes, so appreciate it. Love a good douse of nostalgia personally. And I hope that our audience did too. Thank you everyone for plugging in with us today for another pretty unique, retro, but also modern age story of appreciating the past in today's age. So make sure to tune in to our next podcast. We will continue to bring you awesome stories like this one today. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.